With the critical success of The Outer Worlds, fans rejoiced as hope had once again shone in the cosmos. And I am the first to admit, Obsidian have indeed earned their place as the darling of the RPG community, with a AA budget that feels like a AAA game, boasting beautiful worlds, tight gunplay, and a deliciously grey story to boot.
Oh no, Captain, don't do this. I ain't dying on a fucking ship. I'm gonna die in the dirt like we're meant to.
But that doesn't put them above critique. Although this video isn't in any way, shape or form a defense of Bethesda. Yes, I'm aware of their current standing with the community, RE Fallout First. Instead, it's a critical analysis of Obsidian's own work previously on New Vegas and classic Fallout features which have bafflingly been omitted from The Outer Worlds and, in my opinion, could have greatly enhanced the experience. Note, this list only includes features shared in both games, so it's not going to cover Fallout exclusives like an open sandbox world or auto run, etc. So here are 10 things I think Fallout have done better than The Outer Worlds.
Name's Neffy, friend. Driver Neffy. Pleasure to meet you. Now you fucking dolt. Why the hell would it be a pleasure?
If you've ever been unlucky enough to happen upon one of the many forms of factions in the Wastes, you probably thought, what makes a man sink so low and turn raider?
Huh? Oh, lots. More than any other fiend. Hundreds, maybe. Wham, bam. Oh god, my brains. You hit me in my brains. Easy as that.
The Outer Worlds has a plethora of its own factions. However, their parallel group of scum are called Marauders.
The Marauders I met when I ventured outside the walls might agree with you.
Although they share a similar vigor when spotting you around Halcyon, you never get the same feel though, as unlike raiders, you don't see the whites of their eyes before the inevitable skirmish. With all that armor and apparent lack of robust story between you and any meaningful connection, it inevitably leaves a more generic and forgettable encounter. More of a lackluster Raider light.
You want to meet him, eh? Even money where the Violet's dogs rip you apart, or Neffy caves in your skull with that iron of his.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail.
Speaking of Marauders and their armor, one of the smartest choices for immersion that Fallout included was being able to loot anything you physically saw on an NPC's person. The armor itself gave you so much more incentive visually to take out a foe, because A, you were able to get all of their armor.
You'll pay for that.
B, you had an idea of said value of armor and weight, and C, you could then wear said armor very fashionably, I might add, around town, and it kind of gave you a memory to boot. Plus then you were able to unceremoniously jiggle fallen foes' corpses in their underwear like some kind of puppet master. This feature bolstered the feeling of immersion. You could literally eyeball potential victims for loot, and it made it so much sweeter to obtain. So naturally, it was a disappointing exclusion from the Outer Worlds in favor of a more bland, spam pick up everything with little to no effort or effect, and a very haphazard application of your armor aesthetics, as it's just a bulky smatter of whatever has the best stats throughout the game.
So tell me this, because I really want to know. I am feared with good reason, but you, of all people, dare to come here and stand before me, the mighty Caesar. What were you thinking?
If I had to praise Fallout New Vegas, it'd be for the multitude of factions you can align yourself with, which vastly alters the gameplay.
Factions are really important to us. We didn't want to make it something where it was black and white, where you have this small group of good people against a small group of bad people. It's this very complex mixture of these different people and these different factions.
Although factions act much the same as they do in Fallout, the consequences aren't as far-reaching. Sure, you get an endgame screen filling you in of the consequences of your decisions, but I think Fallout's factions lent themselves far better to New Vegas, as unfortunately there was multiple inevitable run-ins with said factions. See, if you wanted to screw over, say, the Deserters in Edgewater, you would lose alignment points with them, but you don't really see them again.
That's the thing about growing old. Your eyes start to fail. Elsewise, I would have seen you for the snake that you are, chopped you into pieces and roasted you on a spit.
It's not like wiping out Kaisar's Legion in Fallout, where inevitably you're gonna have run-ins with bands of his zealots again and again, and it just adds to the tension.
You can decide, you know what, I don't think any of you are really particularly well suited to be running this place, so I'm gonna fix that.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
I think what made the Fallouts fun, especially New Vegas, was the epic double cross.
This is a fine day, friend.
The Outer Worlds had the same, except it was much more centralized. You meet most faction leaders in their base of operations, usually a door in from the center of their location in town.
Are you out of your mind? You just killed him.
In Fallout, you have to be far more devious. You want to kill Mr. House, you have to pry your own way in. You want to clip Benny? Well, it's best to lure him away from prying eyes and into a more secluded and vulnerable area.
Happy now, you twisted bum?
Hell, you can even betray your own companion, Rose of Sharon Cassidy, to the Van Graffs for a very satisfying evil playthrough.
Hi, I'm John Baptiste, and you're about to stop being a pain in my ass.
Have you tried our new cocktail sponsored by Rizzo's? 1 part Purple Spectrum vodka, 1 part artificial tomato-like substitute juice. We call it a Blue Bloody Mary.
If there's anything that punctuates putting out the lights on a foe, it's the Killcam. The Outer Worlds admittedly has its own, but it's pretty basic and triggers a lot less. Fallout's Killcam was robust and reliable. You get a big, sweet kill, and chances are that limbs are flying every which way and someone is crying out hilariously in slow motion, covered in gore. I guess as the Outer Worlds enemies are more generic, there's less personality and less gore, which inevitably leads to less satisfaction when you see your foes perish in hilarious and random ways.
Whoa, now, be careful with that thing.
A strange entry into this list is the lack of defragging mines in the Outer Worlds. It used to be in Fallout that if you used sneak or were particularly quick on your toes, you were able to de-arm mines before the dreaded beep spelled out your doom. What made this beneficial was that you could delve into a stealth build more, silently picking up mines and redistributing them for your own nefarious purposes. The Outer Worlds said, to hell with that. They still have mines, weirdly, but you cannot disarm them.
Are you alright?
Unless A, avoiding them, which can be impractical, or B, just shooting them, which is more impractical due to the ruckus that follows. All in all, I don't mind a good mine, but time should enhance the experience, not have it blow up in our proverbial faces.
Sal, take cover!
Get out!
If you can excuse the lack of open world in the Outer Worlds, then I'm not sure about the housing situation. In Fallout, most houses are accessible, and if you see a door, it's likely that the only thing between you and the other side is some lockpicking skills, a terminal, or, God forbid, a key for a later time in a quest. Now, while inaccessible areas do exist, they feel like the minority and fit in with the whole abandoned wasteland aesthetic. In the Outer Worlds, you're more prone to kind of skim locations, as most buildings seem to be inaccessible and have this eviction sign on them, or less fleshed out, and as such it kind of trains you not to be as explorative. Whether that's by design, I really don't know. Now you couple that with a couple of default quest markers that cut through everything on screen, and it feels like you're only rewarded for more tunnel vision than exploration.
Spacer's Choice is not responsible for any feeling of vertigo, wonder, or hunger you may have experienced while watching this advertisement.
You know you didn't have to shoot either one, right?
I've already covered how I feel about killing generic Marauders, how they die, and the lack of epicness. But unfortunately, games these days think that killing random creatures is fun, but it seldom is. The Outer Worlds features a bunch of bizarre mutated creatures like raps or mantiqueens, and while they are cool concepts, they act more like Pokemon evolutions versus a scary encounter or really meaty fights.
Damn it! We're not getting through. Nice work!
In Fallout, even a group of rad scorpions make you second guess your footing, which you are always doing. You're forever sizing up an exit or forced onto the back foot, and God forbid you stumble into an errant deathclaw which will rush you and turn you into a chew toy in 2 seconds flat. Everything can kill you so effortlessly, and you never forget this, which adds this level of tension and suspense. Now, creatures by default, in my opinion, are less fun to shoot at than sentient humanoids. I don't know if I'm sick, but I think that's the general consensus. So it's doubly less exciting to be doing target practice on dumb caterpillars and rainbow spitting geckos 24/7.
Welcome to Nuka World, America's favorite vacation destination. I'm Cappy.
One of Fallout's more infamous staples is its currency, caps. They're easy to spot, a great fun spin on monies, and most importantly, you cannot divide them, which I will get into. The Outer Worlds boasts its own currency in the form of bits, those tiny little ticket-shaped things in your inventory. I don't really mind the bits or cartridges that store them, but maddeningly, they don't use whole numbers. I don't know if I'm getting older and I don't want to have to multiply by 0.13, but what the hell is that?
I don't feel so good, Cappy. I think I gotta get out.
Alrighty.
Wondering what's going on, eh? One question first. Are you feeling anything that can be construed as explosive cell death? No? Wonderful. Let's get started.
From the outset of all the Fallouts, your motivation personally is usually clear. However, with an open world, it's more kind of optional versus wandering around and being your own man. With the Outer Worlds being far more linear, I was surprised at how little motivation the player had in an RPG. You start out unthawed and are immediately tasked by a scientist you don't know to help humanity and trudge off to do so. Adversely, you can hurt humanity, but there's kind of no in-between. There's no, I just want to do my own thing. I've been frozen for 70 years. Phineas doesn't add an extra layer of persuasion like a bomb collar or a tale of direct revenge, like Escape from New York. I didn't want to have to do this to you, friend, but you're my only hope, so I have the antidote to a poison just in case you wanted to go off on your own because you've been frozen for 70 years. It's just promises of an impending doom and looming threat of a faceless board that's kind of just out there in the nebulous.
The board, all their lackeys, they're all a bunch of swine.
At least in Fallout, you either have to save your wayward dad, or go find the dick that shot you, or even your son after watching Kellogg shoot your missus in the face. Those motivations are much more compelling and believable than help the galaxy at large or hinder it. They really could have used a more personal and grounded Kellogg-esque or Benny figure to motivate you to stay on task with the main quest line.
That's where you essentially are either the active champion of Vegas, or you basically just said it's anarchy now.